Welcome to Talking Jets. My name's Ryan and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my two co-pilots. I've got Matt O'Leary and Green Bean, the Jets fan. Boys, how you doing tonight? Green Bean, I'm going to throw it to you first.
Oh, dude, I'm so psyched. I just can't believe we finally got that guy. What was his name again? Mark and...
the safeties coach? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, he was on my radar for a long time, man. So this is a good day, boys. I'm ready.
Matt, how you doing on this fine Tuesday night?
Pretty good. Thankfully done with all the shoveling the last 2 days, and I'm ready to just talk some Jets football. So excited for this.
So Matt, how much snow did you guys get where you are at? We got probably like 30 inches of snow where I'm at.
I don't think it was 30. I'm gonna say a foot and a half, maybe. Oof. 18 inches.
Yeah, no, not the best. All right, guys, all of these great content creators links are in the description down below, so make sure you hit a subscribe button down there. But let's jump right into it. Let's start talking some Jets. Let's talk some NFL news. Maybe not so much Jets related, but what are our overall thoughts on the Matthew Stafford trade? Matthew Stafford gets traded from the Detroit Lions to the LA Rams for Jared Goff, a third-round pick this year, a first-round pick in 2022, and a first-round pick in 2023. So, Matt, I'll throw it to you first. What are your thoughts on the Stafford trade, and does it have any impact on the Watson potential trade or the quarterback market in general?
I think I'm going to play spoiler a little bit because I don't really think this has much of an impact on the Darnold or Watson scenarios. I think this was a unique situation. And the reason why it seems like it's so much that the Rams have to give up, 2 first-round picks, a third, and Jared Goff. They had to give up that extra first-round pick because they were moving the Goff contract. I don't think people, understand that you really can't do anything with that contract. The only thing you can do to move it is attach a high-end pick to get somebody to take on that deal. Detroit has a ton of cap space. They can do it. They're rebuilding, so they wanted to take on that player so that they can get that extra first-round pick. It's kind of like the Brock Osweiler thing, but on steroids, like a little bit more. And you can't cut Goff like you can with Osweiler, so he'll be on the roster this year. You can move on from him after this year, so before next year, and I think it would be like maybe a $15 million dead cap hit, so you save 10, something like that. But ultimately, I don't think it's much of an impact on the Darnold or Watson situation. I think for the Rams, they got a significant upgrade at quarterback, so I think they're definitely a front runner in the NFC for next year. I kind of like it for both sides, to be quite honest with you.
Green Bean, what are your thoughts on the whole Stafford trade, and does it impact anything quarterback-wise for us?
Yeah, I made a little video like the second I heard it. Like I heard it, I just recorded, and I was like, I can't believe they paid this much, blah, blah. But Matt's right. There's a lot more to this, and I think it's one of those situations rarely that it's really a good trade for both sides. It's not like anybody got significantly better in the deal, unless, one or the other just fails miserably later. But as far as the deal itself, I think that Jared Goff's contract, we all knew that was a bad contract when he signed it. We were like, ooh, okay, that seems like a lot for Jared Goff. Like everybody across the board felt that way. But that he was their quarterback and it showed commitment and all that. He has shown to be kind of the weak link on that team in some respects. So I think them having the opportunity to get out from under it is really exciting, I'm sure, for them. And then to be able to bring in Stafford. And if there's any team in the league that's used to not having first-round picks, it's the Rams. I mean, this will be 4 years in a row they didn't have one. So they're just kind of like, whatever. They don't need them. They're doing fine. And I don't think – I mean, initially there was a flood of stuff that came into me. Like if Stafford got 2 firsts and a third – then Deshaun Watson's getting 5 firsts and Quinnen Williams kind of a thing. And I don't think that's really the case. Like Matt just outlined perfectly. It was more about that's the price tag for them being willing to take on that contract and get the Rams out from under it. It was an agreement, and they just I think it really looks good for both sides, man.
Yeah, this is one of those rare trades that I don't think anyone really lost on. Like the Lions getting Goff, I know there's some connection with, I think it's their GM over there and why they like Goff. They're taking on the contract. The Rams are saving $13 million in cap space, so they can basically use that to not cut some of the guys that are on their roster because they're over the cap right now. So they're going to need that money big time. Like you guys said, they gave up 2 future first-round picks, and part of that was taking on the contract of Goff. Now, for the Lions, I like that they got the 2 future first-round picks. If you were to ask me, and we'll get into the whole Sam discussion, I see you guys talking about it, Chris in the chat. We'll get to that in just a second. But if this was the idea of like, okay, hey, someone's going to offer me a second-round pick for Sam this year or a first-round pick in 2022 for Sam, I'm taking the 2022 first-round pick. So for the Lions, I don't hate that they went with the 2 first-round picks in the future. I think if you can get what will eventually be elite caliber talent in that first round, it's going to be good for them because their coach has a 6-year contract. So he's not in any sort of pressing need. It's not like the Texans or teams that are a little bit more pushed for success right now. They can kind of see what they have in Goff. He's 26 years old. I don't believe in Goff, but at the same time, they don't have to trade up for a quarterback now because there was thoughts that maybe they trade up to 2, try to get Watson or Wilson or Fields. Now there's the potential if they're sitting at 7, do they go quarterback? Do they wait, see what they have in Goff? Do they let a quarterback sit on the bench for a year? There's going to be a lot of ways that they can kind of take this, and I think it's a good trade for them. I think they ultimately wound up getting one of those first-round picks for taking on that contract, or maybe I guess you could call it the 2023 first was like, thank you for taking the contract. Something I did not realize, and something that gives the Jets a little bit more leverage, you can only trade picks 3 years out. So I see people saying like, oh, some teams are going to offer 4 first-round picks. Like Colin Cowherd, I was watching a video today, saying the Raiders should trade Derek Carr, Darren Waller, and 4 first-round picks for Watson. And I'm like, wait a second. I go through their draft picks, and I was like, oh, wait a second. They only have 1 first-round pick each of the next 3 years. They can't go to 2024. So that's what's so huge about the Jets and Miami is we have the picks to go out and get someone like Watson right now. Now, circling back around for what does this do as far as like impact for the Jets, I think the biggest part is it's not going to have any bearing on Deshaun Watson. If you look at here's what I will say. The trade value chart is very ticky-tacky, I think, at times. So what was given up for Stafford ultimately winds up being 1,300 points plus Stafford if you break it out the way it's supposed to be broken out. The Jets' number 2 overall pick is worth 2,600 points. So our second overall pick is just so much more valuable than anything that was given up in that trade. So the Jets, in theory, should have to give up significantly less value-wise than that. But we have seen some rumors of what the Texans may be looking for, the 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 defensive players, which is, I think, bananas. So if you're, to me, when I see, I mean, well, it's you always want to shoot high. I understand that, but if you're saying, okay, you want 2 first-round picks, well, it's not going to be number 2. If you're going to grade all first-round picks the same, number 2 is not included. Sorry, and I know they want number 2, so you're going to have to take out probably a defensive player and a first-round pick from your equation. Because right now, I think Quinnen Williams, which I think would have to be part of that trade if they were asking for a defensive player, for me, he's a first and a third all day, like not even close. And to me, he's probably untouchable. If I'm talking about guys that are untouchable on this roster, it's Becton, it's Quinnen Williams, and it's probably, I guess, Mims. He's kind of cheap, but if someone really wanted Mims, they could probably have him for the right price.
Yeah, probably.
So I mean, I don't think it has any bearing on the Watson situation. So let's throw this out there real quick. Chris Bucco coming in with a super chat says Schefter just said we could get a late first for Sam. I'll drive him, says Chris. So I will say this: the Stafford trade for me shows more in the way of what we could get for Sam than what we could get for than what we're going to try and get Watson for. Like, I think the NFL is so QB hungry right now. There's going to be a team at the end of the first round that wants Sam. Even if the Jets have to give up, say, like a 5th round pick or a 4th round pick to kind of get into that first round, I'm 100% for it. And sort of like how the Lions took the future first, I would take a future first for Sam if we couldn't get a first this year. I don't need the pick right now, but I think getting a first for Sam would be absolutely huge for Joe Douglas. Matt, what are your thoughts on Schefter saying we get a late first round pick for Sam?
I would love that. I think that would be huge for the Jets. I would do that in a second. I would be surprised if it is a late first. I've been kind of sticking with my round 2 pick for a while here. At times, people are saying, no, that's too low. At times, people, when he was playing bad, that's still too high. I really think it's going to be second. Maybe it's a second and like a super late pick, like a 5th or a 6th. But I would be surprised, pleasantly surprised if it's a 1. Obviously, the higher, the better, right? But unless it's maybe like, I don't know, Pittsburgh or New Orleans coming in with a first rounder, maybe you could sell me on that happening. I think I would still be surprised, though. I don't see that as something that I would do personally.
I think Sam right now, I think I have to eliminate Pittsburgh from contention just because they brought in Haskins. I think that's their sort of hope for the future. Now, I don't know if it's going to end up being that if they, cut him. I think he signed a veteran minimum deal, so it's not like the biggest thing either way. Green Bean, what are your thoughts on possibly getting a late first round pick for Sam Darnold?
Well, I think, look, it's the way we have to look at it. It's very similar to what you just said, Ryan, on the front end. On the front end, it's like all first round picks are not created equal. And the way that these teams look at it, like let's say it's the Saints and Breeze isn't going to be there, and they need a quarterback, and at that spot in the first round, you have hypothetically Kyle Trask, you have Jamie Newman and Kellen Mond, and they're like. I don't really like any of them, but they'd be forced to take one. They're looking at Sam Darnold and saying that's a better bet, and we're going to take a quarterback with that pick anyway. So that's just kind of how it goes. So I think it's realistic when you look at it through that standpoint. In truth, I've been thinking a second pretty much the whole time. At the beginning of when this first started, I thought at first. But I think if we get a first, it's that very end. And it's more like like an early second kind of a thing anyway. But I don't think it's unrealistic, man. I think that the league is predicated on quarterback play, and guys like Sean Payton or the developmental powerhouse of the Pittsburgh Steelers, or even Frank Reich in Indianapolis. These guys have every confidence in their ability to work with a quarterback, and they know damn well that Jeremy Bates and Adam Gase were not getting everything that could be gotten out of this kid. I mean, do you realize Sam Darnold has never had a quarterback coach since he had to enter the NFL? Jeremy Bates also did not hire a quarterback coach. So that's what this guy's been dealing with. Now, granted, I agree that we should move on from him, but when you're a Frank Reich or a Sean Payton and you're looking at this guy, like he's had nobody to work with, and I loved him coming out of school, yeah, I'll give him pick 29 for him. You know what I mean? So I think there's nothing wrong with it, and I would be happy with it.
Yeah, the whole first round pick for Sam just has me like elated. I think there's going to be a team on the back end. The Saints are kind of one I'm sort of keeping an eye on just because they're so high in cap. Like if I would trade Sam for Lattimore straight up, I wouldn't need like anything. I wouldn't need a draft pick. Give me a starting caliber cornerback. It solves a huge need for us. Or maybe they're right tackle or something along those lines. Richie in the chat says, do you think Jaguars shock everyone and select Wall Street Wilson? No. not happening, brother. I know it would be fantastic, but I don't see that happening. Green Bean, what do you think? You think Jaguars pull a fast one and select anyone other than Lawrence?
No, but isn't it a funny thing? I actually brought this up on Jets Media last night. I stopped in and just saw those guys and threw this question at him. And it's like, do you think Trevor Lawrence now knows the difference between going to the Jets and going to the Jaguars? Have you heard a word about this guy since we lost the number 1 overall pick? It was like ESPN, Sports Illustrated, all the national media, Trevor Lawrence. The second that we lost it, he was no longer interesting because he's going to the Jaguars and no one gives a shit about the Jaguars. It's just that simple. But I don't think for 1 second that they're even considering trading that pick or picking someone else with that pick. It's him. That's my thought.
Yeah, I can't see them possibly taking anyone else. Now, to stay on that sort of same vein with the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, did you guys see who his quarterback coach is going to be? It's Shoddy.
Wait, who?
It's Shoddy. He's got Shoddy as the passing
no
game,
way, that
and
happened?
Yep.
yeah, that happened. Good fucking luck, dude. Jesus
Hate to see
Christ. Yeah, that's terrible. Trevor
Yeah,
Lawrence, your
hey.
career is going down the drain.
What a sad day.
Oh, it's a sin.
Well, how
Oh,
do these
well.
guys still have jobs? Like, what are these guys? They get fired and they get rehired all over the place. Like, I don't know what it is. You
It's
know?
definitely the
brother.
reason. It's definitely the
Yeah.
reason the Rooney Rule came into effect, because these guys are like legacy guys, like Marty Schottenheimer, longtime coach in the NFL, and then his son Brian Schottenheimer really hasn't like wowed that many people from like a developmental standpoint. His offense was. I remember when we had him, everyone was like, "Oh, that offense is totally." It's good. It's really Sanchez that's bad, and all these other things. It's like, well, you couldn't develop Sanchez, and you couldn't do this, and you couldn't do that, and you had Wilson. So, and like DK Metcalf's calling him out for the other team no one plays. UCF Jaguar, I see you in the chat, my brother. I will. He goes, no, Richie, we're drafting Lawrence. LOL. Good, take Lawrence because I want to
Yeah,
trade my number
sorry,
2 pick.
man,
I'm going
I
to feel a
didn't
little bad if. I'm gonna feel a little bad if he's sitting there after we've traded. Not really, because we'll have Watson.
I know that would suck. But
Victor
I want to say
A.
I'm sorry. I wasn't poking at you, UFC Jaguar. It was just a statement. It was a blanket statement, man. It had nothing to do with anybody individually.
He's UCF Jaguars got a really good channel. If you guys haven't checked out some Jaguars content, he does a really good job over there. So I highly recommend checking that out. Victor A comes in with a super chat, says, I think we are all sleeping on Trey Lance. Trey Lance was my number 2 overall quarterback at the start of this season. I really like Trey Lance a lot. Now, the reason Lance has fallen for me is because we got to see him in his highlight game or his spotlight game or whatever it's called, and he played horribly. He actually threw his only interception of his collegiate career. Now, the issue with him is that he is only played in 17 games as a collegiate athlete. So you're talking players don't necessarily pan out. There's a lot more risk when you have so much fewer games played. When you look at guys like Haskins or Mark Sanchez, that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin, you could get a Kyler Murray, you could get a Cam Newton. So it's not set in stone, but it's definitely concerning, especially the level of competition that he plays. What is he, North Dakota State, I think? Or
Yeah.
I think it's North Dakota State, yeah. I like the guy a lot. I mean, if we were to trade down, like if Detroit took him at 7, home run pick, I think. I wouldn't be shocked to see him go in front of Fields by any stretch of the imagination. I think Trey Lance is the closest thing to like what Mahomes was when he was coming out in terms of like a guy that's kind of under the radar a little bit, if you will. I remember when we were watching the Watson and Mahomes draft, there was a lot of quarterback needy teams that passed on quarterbacks early in that draft. The Jets weren't the only ones to pass on Watson and Mahomes. And Lance, to me, feels like that same kind of quarterback. Everyone's talking about Lawrence and Wilson and Fields, and they're kind of forgetting about Lance. He would be my pick for most likely to surprise a lot of people in a draft, I think, from the quarterback position. So, Green Bean, I'll throw it to you. What do you think about Trey Lance?
Well, it's funny. I was listening to some like a part of a show, and they broke him down a little bit last week. And really, the word on him is that he's about as talented as anybody out there, but he's like the epitome of raw. So taking him in the top 10 kind of a thing and throwing him out there, it's going to be a big mistake. So like you just said with the Detroit Lions, like if they're going to start Goff for 2 years or even 1 year at minimum, and you're kind of taking on Lance as to groom for a solid season at minimum, he could be a great pick. I mean, he's very talented. We talked about him a few months ago, and we all liked him. I was considering him just like you said, above Fields, and Wilson wasn't even on the radar. I was kind of like bouncing around between those two guys, at least for me. And so I think he's just the kind of guy that if you end up taking and put the whole world on his shoulders, more than likely he's not going to be able to handle that right off the bat. So that's the kind of guy, which is why I think he's not talked about in that same conversation as Lawrence, Fields, and Wilson at the moment.
Yeah, I think him missing this year and not being able to put more on tape, I think is going to hurt his stock more than anything else. Matt, what are your thoughts on Trey Lance?
I like him a lot. I don't think I'm necessarily sleeping on him. I have him going in the top 15, which I think that's pretty good for a quarterback. He's probably my fourth. I put him, obviously Lawrence 1, Wilson and Fields are very close, and then a little notch below that is Lance. But I agree with Green Bean. I think he's going to have to sit for a little bit. And maybe like a team like the Lions would make sense because you're probably having Goff this year, and then maybe you can move on from him after the 2021 season, and then Lance will be ready to go. And who knows, if they're struggling, maybe they'll bench him, 12 games in and you have Lance play the final 4 or something like that. But he's raw. That's part of it. And we only saw one game from him this year. So unfortunately, the guys who only played one game or maybe sat out the season, they're going to take a little bit of a hit because we haven't seen them as much. So maybe that's why it feels like people are sleeping on him.
Yeah, I think that tends to be where I fall on that. I think the lack of playing this season, you could see Penei Sewell fall a little bit. I've seen people put Slater ahead of him. I don't know if he's necessarily a lock to be the first quarterback. Well, I shouldn't say just the non-quarterback because a receiver could go early too. But I don't think it's as sure of a lock that he goes top 5 as much as I thought it was like maybe a month ago. V-Man comes in and says, Urban Meyer building the reverse dream team in Jacksonville. You know what? I kind of hope that's the case, so that way I don't feel bad about, missing out on Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. We'll see. What do you guys think about what Urban Meyer's doing down there? Matt, I'll throw it to you first.
I don't really like his coaching staff that he's put together. I don't see this hire going well for Jacksonville. I don't think he's going to be there for more than 3 years.
Green Bean, what are your thoughts on Urban Meyer?
Yeah, I'll be real straight with you guys. It's not really on my radar. So I didn't even know about Schottenheimer. So it's not making its way to my ear holes currently. So who else does he have outside of Brian Schottenheimer? Anybody else that really sucks?
I mean, I'll be honest. I haven't been following too closely along. Just adding Schottenheimer to me is a notch down. It's like, oh man, I know him. I couldn't tell you who his defensive coordinator is or who he brought in. I'm assuming it's a lot of people from Ohio State and his tenure there.
Let's see, Joe Cullen. Yeah, so he hired defensive line coach from the Ravens, Joe Cullen. So I don't know.
I guess it's all right. Anytime you take someone off the Ravens, except for like David Culley, which actually I guess we could get into that at some point too. The whole Texans thing. I just realized like, oh man, it's been a week since we did this, and that happened this recently. Mamoon H, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, take off your Jets hat for a second. We want Deshaun Watson 4, but why would he actually want Jets over the Niners or Miami? Just speculation. He wants New York, not facts yet. It's not necessarily facts. I have heard, and you guys can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I heard that Watson and Saleh share the same agent. If that's the case, I'm sure we have a little bit more inside knowledge than other teams would. We found out that Saleh was one of his desired coaching candidates to come to Houston, which by default means he wants to play for Robert Saleh. I think the Shanahan offense is very quarterback friendly, and I think a lot of quarterbacks are going to want to play in that style of offense. I think we'll see Stafford have a ton of success not Stafford, sorry. God, why am I saying Stafford? Whatever quarterback comes in here or goes to San Francisco will wind up playing well. There's actually rumors, apparently the 49ers may go after Kirk Cousins. I don't know how accurate that is. I saw some little blips on that on my radar. And we've seen all the different like tweets and little mysterious cryptic things involving the Jets, the car getting painted jet green and, being 40 minutes away from the Jets practice facility and Allen Robinson liking a bunch of tweets from Deshaun Watson going to the Jets and whatnot. So Green Bean, I'll throw it to you first. Why, if we take our Jets hat off, why would Deshaun Watson want to come to New York? He takes the hat off.
Jets hat is off. This is why I leave my Jets hat on, okay? You know what's funny? I used something called dry shampoo for the first time today. Look at it. This is what happens because we have
Dry
no water
shampoo.
today. So, you ever hear that?
Is that
shit?
like
No.
My wife said,
dehydrated,
"Oh,
like astronaut food
it's
or
like
something?
powder." Yeah, it keeps. Look at it. It actually stays that way. Look at this. It's just fucking.
That's incredible.
But yeah, it's incredible. So here's what I'll say, man. I think that he's right. They're not facts. Like we don't have confirmed reports that or like Deshaun Watson on video saying this is what I want. But there's enough people around him. His agent has kind of gone out on a limb in more than one instance talking about the New York Jets. So there's a lot of reasons to believe what we're hearing from the inside sources kind of a thing. So I don't know if it's fact, right? But I think, when you look at Deshaun Watson, like wanting to go to the Niners or one of these more successful teams over the Jets, there's a valid point there. Don't forget 3-4 months ago, we were literally looked at as a clown show. So, but what's happened in these past couple of months has been legitimate, man. Number one, we have all the capital in the world as far as draft picks and cap space. We just hired a universally respected coach. Joe Douglas is a universally respected general manager. The coaching staff that we put together, like Ryan just said about the Shanahan offense, that system is universally respected as quarterback friendly and very successful. So there's a lot to support the idea. Plus, the guys that he's really good friends with, Deshaun Watson just got traded to the Nets, which is a fun little wrinkle. But don't forget this, his brother is a Jets fan. And actually I think his cousin owns a couple restaurants here or something like he's got family here too. So there's a lot there. And I think a lot of people would like to be a part of the resurgence. And Deshaun Watson knows what he is. He's like, fuck, man, if I go over there and I have Salah and a Shanahan, I'm going to light that city up, man. So I could see it, but it's a good point. And he's right. We don't have facts. We have a lot of hearsay.
Matt, what are your thoughts on Watson choosing the Jets over the Niners or Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, all this stuff is, speculation. And part of it is the kinds of trade offers that the Jets could give the Texans versus some of these other teams. Like saying that the Jets are in the best position to acquire him makes sense because they have the number 2 pick this year and they have 4 first-round picks over the next 2 years. But speaking on Watson potentially wanting to come to the Jets, one, supposedly he really likes Robert Saleh. So if you like the coach that you're going to want to go, play for, that makes sense. And number 2, yeah, the team hasn't been very good. I understand that, but they have a ton of cap space, number 1, and a ton of draft assets too. So the team is going to change. And on top of that, it's New York. It's not like he's going to Des Moines, Iowa to play football. Like you can market yourself and make a ton of money, in New York and branding and stuff like that. It's good for the brand. New York, Los Angeles. That's why we saw LeBron go out to LA a couple of years ago. Different sport, but it's the same kind of concept.
Yeah, 100%. The other thing I'll throw in too is because of the Jets' assets overall. Like LeBron going out west, you knew the first year was going to be a rough year. They were going to have a down year, but then they had the cap space and they had everything to go out and get the guys they needed to get to make that a championship caliber team. Now, the Jets are going to have a ton of assets. If you wind up going to the Niners or the Dolphins, there's not a real good shot that they're going to be able to surround those teams with talent. So the Jets, I think, are an attractive landing spot from a marketing perspective, from a head coaching perspective, and from a, hey, let's get my guys to come in and play with me. Richard Delgado coming in with Super Chat says the Jets would be lucky to get a 4th for Darnold. There's 32 NFL teams and only so many quarterbacks. Richard, I completely disagree. Matt, how do you feel about this?
That's funny. I don't know how to respond to that, to be honest with you. The Jets traded Teddy Bridgewater on one leg a couple of years ago for a 3rd. So, I mean, I don't know. That's a bad take, Rich. Sorry.
Green Bean, what do you think about this?
Well, isn't it funny? Yeah, it's funny. It's the first half of that comment didn't jive with the second half of that comment. It kind of like it was almost like the answer. It was like you'll be lucky to get a 4th, but there's only 32 teams, so everybody wants a quarterback. It's like kind of like I could have used that as the answer to that. But I disagree. I think Sam's 23 years old. He was a number one quarterback coming out of school 3 years ago. He's had the worst coaching situation, the worst offensive line, no quarterback coach. So there's a lot of guys that are going to be confident that they can work with him. Dude, he's 23. Conversely, Tom Brady is fucking 59, and he's promised to play more. I mean, so guys can play for a long time. If he plays into his 40s, he's got 17 years left. So you can change a lot in that time.
My buddy D-Mac in the chat says Teddy greater than Sam. He's a Giant fan, D-Mac. And he has loved Teddy Bridgewater. He wanted the Giants to go after Bridgewater. I think it was before they drafted Daniel Jones, if I'm not mistaken. The year that we got Teddy, he wanted them to go after him. And I like Teddy a lot. I think Teddy's upside was never going to be as high as Sam's upside. That said, Teddy has put way more on tape than Sam has. So, I don't know. I would be surprised if we got less than a second-round pick for Sam. Anthony comes in saying, while we're on Lance, Wilson and Fields are both worthy of number 2. I would bet if we see a trade down on draft night, he would more than likely be the pick. Oh, okay. So Anthony's saying if we trade down, Lance could be the pick because he would be, I guess, worthy, I guess. I would be fine with that if we decide to go with Lance in a trade down situation, and then maybe let Sam sit for a year or let Lance sit for a year, because we know Sam's going to get signed after next season. There's no way the number 3 overall pick is not going to get some type of contract, which means the Jets could, in theory, get a compensation pick back if he runs out his contract. So there's a thought there, I guess. Matt, what do you think about trading down and getting Lance?
I don't like it just because there are better options out there. To me, both Fields and Wilson are a lot safer than Lance. And that's not a knock. Like, I like Lance as a prospect, and I think if he goes to a San Francisco, that could be a great situation for him. Or even like we said with Detroit and sitting, that could work out well for him. But if it's the Jets trading back and taking Lance, let's say, I don't know, at 7, then, well, you're in a position where, okay, let's play the game. You're going to keep Sam Darnold for this year. Sam starts off struggling. The pressure is going to come 3 games into the year. The Jets are 0-3. They have, 10 points of offense or something crazy. Then the fans are going to beg to see this new guy, Lance, and put him in too early. And it's just a endless cycle here. You're in a position with the number 2 pick to get a top tier quarterback prospect. Don't mess around. Take whichever one you like more out of Fields or Wilson.
Green Bean, what are your thoughts on trading down and getting Lance?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably, they're looking for, this is a brand new coaching staff. It's a first-time head coach, first-time regime. It's the GM's first hire of a head coach. This is his first season as like the sole leader of the company, let's call it. I just don't think that taking a flyer on a guy who's known to be raw is what they're going to do. I think they're going to look to lock up their quarterback right now so they have the maximum amount of time to work with him. So I don't know. I think that's unlikely.
Well, that's a perfect point too. Why waste a year of, developing a guy if you think there's a chance that Fields or Wilson starts year 1 and it gives you 1 extra year of Super Bowl window? Not that the Jets are going to the Super Bowl next year, but if you think year 2 for Lance is really his, first starting season where he's going to make all his rookie mistakes, it does in a sense give you an extra window. Freedom Family, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, do you think Joe Douglas will go for a more George Fant type of addition in free agency? If so, who do you have in mind? And Mo, thank you so much for becoming a member of the Jets Talk 24/7 channel. Right after this stream, 10:15, I'm going to be doing my members only 10 o'clock mock. So if you want to become a member of the channel, there's a link down below this video, a little blue join button. If you click that, you can become a member of the channel and you'll get the member exclusive 10 o'clock mock draft. So if I had to guess, someone like a George Fant, someone that could be coming out of the woodwork, let's see, because like Fant wasn't on my radar last year. So if we're saying someone who might be more of like a backup that could could be a starter. I don't know. I think Douglas is going to try and target those type of guys. I think he's going to try and bargain hunt. I'll say this, maybe to a lesser extent, it's Curtis Samuel, because he's not the sexiest name on the free agent market for wide receiver, but I think he is someone that fits the system a lot better than some of the other big names that are out there that are going to cost way more money. Again, I like Samuel more than I liked Fant last year, so I don't know if it's necessarily the same thing. Matt, do you think there's anyone similar to like a George Fant type signing that Douglas could go after in free agency?
I do think that he's going to have some priority free agents. Like, I think he's going to be willing to spend. So I don't think his bigger play is going to be like a George Fant, but someone who I think you could get good value on would be like a Curtis Samuel, because I think he would be perfect in this offense. Or maybe if you want to go on the defensive side, I don't think Ronald Darby is going to cost you a ton as a starting cornerback, but he is a legitimate starting outside corner. So if you go with like Darby, Hall on the other side, bring back Brian Poole, like you can sell me on that being the starters for 2021 for sure.
I don't know if I'd want to roll entirely with Darby, but I'd want to bring in some type of corner in the draft. But I do like that. Darby was actually the other player I was kind of mulling over. I was like, okay, he had a good year last year, so I don't know if that's like under the radar, but the year before he was horrible. So like with Philadelphia, so that's spot on, I think.
I always liked him too, so I'm a little biased towards him, and he's still young, but that's part of the reason why I'm willing to bet on him.
Sure. Jeff Loke and The Sesh, thank you so much for becoming members of the Jets Talk 24/7 channel. You guys will be a part of the 10 o'clock mock draft for members only after the stream. Green Bean, your thoughts on Joe Douglas trying to go after someone like a George Fant in this year's free agent class?
Well, I'll say something about George Fant, and I want to really use this for a second. I mean, when he signed George Fant, it was right on the heels of not signing Conklin, and everybody responded the exact same way. This was a new GM's desperation move in response to losing out on his first big-ticket free agent. And that may have been the case, but it really shows that Joe Douglas has a little bit better of an evaluation system than a lot of us do out here, and than a lot of us give him credit for, because George Fant was not the issue on our offensive line. He was not perfect, but this was his first time really starting as a right tackle, and he played well, man. So well, in fact, that we're thinking that he might not be the long-term answer, but he's not a priority in this offseason, is filling that position, the starting role. So it really shows that Joe Douglas is a little bit, maybe a lot of other GMs or other personnel evaluators and all that sort of stuff. And it's an asset of ours. Okay. So I think that if Joe Douglas goes out and does bargain shop and gets some guys that might be a little bit more green or a little bit less touted, I actually trust him. He's got my benefit of the doubt right now. And Fant is a good reason for that. He's not perfect across the board, but George Fant is a really good example of someone that no one thought was a realistic option to be our starter at right tackle, and he was fine, man. He was improving all year, and I think he's shown that he deserves a shot to keep that starting job. So I think it's more than likely, I mean, I would say it's almost guaranteed to happen that Joe Douglas is not going to go out and spend $80 million on 4 guys. That's not what he's doing. He's going to get a big ticket free agent who I think is probably going to be Thuney or Sheriff. He may go big with the wide receiver and then look for a whole bunch of bargain basement guys, scrappers and guys that might not have their career built yet. And I think Joe Douglas and his team feel confident in their ability to do that.
So one thing I will throw in towards the end of that, you brought up going bargain hunting, and I like that a lot. One thing I do like is that we could see a lot of one-year contracts that turn into guys walking at the end of next year and signing bigger contracts with other teams, which means we could see some compensation picks come through. And if we could get a few, a third, a fourth, a fifth compensation pick next year, especially if we wind up trading for Watson, Douglas is going to look like a real smart man. Lori Bendick coming in with a super chat saying, do you think the Jets could get away with not giving away 3 firsts for Deshaun because of the number 34 pick? Yes, I do. I think you could see 2 firsts and the 34 pick with probably an additional pick. You'd probably have to give up 4 picks, I think, in that case. But I do think you could get away with not giving up 3 firsts if you include 34. Matt, your thoughts?
Potentially. I don't know if you'd want to do that though, because then like when's the first time you're going to pick in this upcoming draft? If you're trading Darnold,
It depends if 23 is included in it or not.
Well, I would think so. I would think it'd have to be the first 3 picks if you're not doing it like that.
It could be 2, 34, and the first next year, and a first next year. So that way we keep a first, and then we have a first next year, and that would be my thought. I don't think you'd give. I think if you give up all 3. If it's 2, 23, and 34, that's all I'm giving up. I'm not giving up anything more than that. That would be my max.
Yeah, you can sell me on that. I don't think that's what it's going to be though. I think it's going to be both if it was to happen. I think it'd be both this year and then one next year with it. Like maybe there's a condition like whichever first round picks higher between yours or Seattle or something like that.
Yeah. Green Bean, what about you? You think there's any shot the Jets don't give up 3 firsts?
Yeah, well, I just disagree with you guys on this one. I just feel like the value is going to be lower. They don't have as many options. All this noise about this stiff competition is not real. There's only a select few places that can both afford him, that he wants to go to, and have the capital to get it done. I think it is very few teams. The pool is small. And I think at the end of the day, Deshaun Watson has to okay it. And I think some teams like the Raiders, who are going to come in and offer a boatload of money, he's more than likely going to say, no, I don't want to go play for John Gruden, and so forth. So I think if the second overall pick is involved, you're going to see much less other picks involved, in my opinion. I could be wrong. It's just how I see it. Like we've talked about ad nauseum, that second overall pick is worth more than anything else anybody else has to offer. So we're not on the same playing field. They would have to offer 3 picks to equal that 1 pick. And I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. They're going to want that number 2 pick, because even Miami's at 3. If we stay at 2, we're taking the guy they want. And that's a legitimate fear. So they're not going to give up Deshaun Watson and a 50% chance that the guy they are targeting isn't even going to be there. They're just not going to do that, in my opinion. It's not smart. So I think it's going to be less. But I wanted to make a comment on something you said earlier too, but I forget what it was. So I don't even know why I'm talking about it. So forgive me.
Well, if you think about it, definitely shout it out. It's all good. The R, thank you so much for the super chat, says, why is Fields not being talked about as QB2 in the draft? Fields has great upside and has played against better competition. Fields would be fire. Yeah, 100%. Fields is an interesting prospect. I think people have started to lean more towards Wilson because of his comments about wanting to play in a Shanahan-type system, and him just sort of looking like he fits the part, the quick release, fast processing power. Dude's got an SSD in his head. So I don't hate Fields. Like, I like Fields. I think he could be, a Deshaun Watson. Like, that would be the hope that he winds up turning into him at some point. Could you imagine Fields running around in an RPO style system the same way we're dreaming about Watson over here? So Matt, your thoughts, why isn't Fields looked at as QB2?
I think he is, depending on who you ask. I really like I like Wilson. I prefer Wilson over Fields. But with that being said, and I know I've said this multiple times on this stream and past shows, but I don't think it has to be so much, oh, I'm team Wilson or I'm team Fields and F the other guy. It's not like that. If Fields is the pick, I would be more than happy with that. I really think you can make a case for either one of those guys being the number 2 quarterback in this draft and have a legitimate one. So while I might personally prefer Wilson, let's say, for example, if Green Bean prefers Fields or if you, Ryan, prefer Fields, you could sell me on that. Like, I get it. He's a good prospect. And I don't really think it's a matter of if the Jets don't take Wilson at 2 and take Fields instead, that's a huge mistake. I wouldn't sit here on draft night and say, oh, that's a mistake. I could say, oh, they probably liked him because of his athleticism, or he reminds them of Dak Prescott, or, and run down the gambit of reasons why they took him. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of like, you could sell me on either one of these guys. I don't think,
That was beautifully put. Green Bean, your thoughts on why Fields isn't necessarily looked at as QB2, or why we're maybe not talking about him as QB2?
Yeah, I think Matt nailed it, dude. I mean, I think he is quarterback two. I would say most people's boards. It's just what we're seeing is the flip flop of the offseason. This happens every single year. Look at the tackles last year. At any given time, every one of the four tackles had risen to being the number one tackle in the draft. And at the end of the day, it went all the way back to the first guy who was the number one tackle, and that was Andrew Thomas. It happens every year. I think there are tiers. It's not so much individual players, guys. It's more about tiers, and you put guys in tiers, which is why GMs and stuff are willing to trade back. They take a group of guys and put them in tiers, and they say, okay, if we can get any of the guys in this tier, then that's where we have them rated, and so if they're willing to trade back a couple because there's four guys in their tier, they're happy because they know they'll get one of those guys. It's not so much one guy over the other with Wilson and Fields. It's a personal choice by any individual person, but I think it really is they are quarterback too. And you're going to see this throughout the offseason, man, especially if we do a pro day and Fields runs a 4.3 40 or something. He's going to right back to the are the Jaguars going to take him over Trevor Lawrence and all that sort of stuff? So I wouldn't worry about it. I think Fields is number two in many ways.
Eli in the chat just sent in a super chat, so I'm going to get to it real quick right now since it's kind of on topic. He says Wilson has a higher floor, Fields has a higher ceiling. I think that's well put. I think the athleticism of Fields at 6'3", the speed. He could be a bigger version of Russell Wilson, the way he just shakes off tackles. Wilson, could he, not top out because we've seen him play against maybe lower competition. So I think there's definitely a conversation to be had there, and I think that was well put, Eli. Stevie says, Sack Exchange on Twitter. Deshaun is not going to the Panthers as he does not like their owner due to the Cam Newton situation. 49ers out too, trust me. That's what. Who was that? Was that Greenbean? You were saying that before. He's not not interested in going to the Panthers.
Oh yeah, is that Stevie?
Yeah.
Is that yeah? Sorry, I was. Somebody's bringing up that I said the Jets would go 16-0 and they don't trust me anymore, and I'm trying to say that was a joke. I didn't really.
I don't think it was, guys, at all.
I actually
we're going 16-0 until we lose a game. Then we're going 15-1.
That's right. Yeah. It was 0-16. No, it was 12-4 anyway. It wasn't 16-0 that I was saying. But yeah, that's the guy I was telling you about from Twitter. This guy's kind of in the know. His name is Sack Exchange 99 on Twitter, and he has a lot of connections all over the place. And he was telling me a lot of stuff about Deshaun Watson's family, and he also said that something about the Panthers, that Deshaun Watson would not go to the Panthers because he takes personally what they did to Cam Newton, and how they just kind of Matt Rule and crew and they all came in here and just like kind of dropped Cam Newton on his ass and replaced him real quick without any real fanfare. So anyway, he took that wrong, is what is being said. I don't know if it's real or not, but that was a rumor being said, and I believe it was by his agent. What did he say in the super chat there? Did he just
he just says Deshaun Watson is not.
Was, Ryan?
No, he didn't say who it was unless it's in like a later part. But no, he just says he's not. He says the 49ers are out also, which is a little surprising for me, I think. Matt, what are your thoughts
anyway,
on or Greenbean? Yeah, you keep going. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry, but anyway, that's the guy who gave me the news. I didn't know his name was Steve. You know how that goes. Oh yes, I did, but I forgot. But he's Sack Exchange to me.
I gotcha. Matt, what are your thoughts on Deshaun possibly not going to the Panthers?
Maybe if he doesn't like the owner. I don't know. I haven't heard that before today. So I don't know, but Stevie could know something that I don't. So maybe I think the 49ers would be a fit, but I don't know if they have the draft capital to get it done. We'll see. I think the Jets and Dolphins are still the front runners.
Mutt Viles multivitamin says, evening guys, how's everyone dealing with the snow? Also, anyone hear that the Jets can get a late first rounder for Sam Darnold, send him to the Saints or the Colts? Yes, we were talking about it a little bit earlier. I would love to get a first round pick for Sam Darnold. I think because of what the Stafford compensation was, I think that means that the Jets could in theory get a late first for Sam. I think it's not off the table. Green Bean, anything to add on Sam potentially getting a first rounder for the Jets?
Yeah, well, I think, we just talked about it a little bit, so I'll just reiterate. I think it's realistic. I don't, it's not like I'm not pounding the table that you don't trade them, unless it's a first or something like that. I think that late first, early second is right in the appropriate pocket for a guy at his age and his situation and his talent level and his upside. I think it's realistic.
Matt, what about you? Anything to add on Sam possibly netting us a one?
That would be a home run for Joe Douglas, and I think all of three of us will drive Sam to the airport if that happened.
I will order him his Uber.
Yeah.
I don't know who he's been making out with. I don't want to catch the Rona. Kevin Jackson coming in with a super chat says, does drafting a quarterback at 2 and still trading Sam give us a better shot at growing long term? Deshaun Watson is the silver bullet. Does that lean too much on free agent ads? So I think if we get Deshaun Watson, we are going to have to rely a little bit, maybe more on free agency, just because we're giving away a few more draft assets. But if it is, say, the 3 first-round picks and it's a first each of the next 3 years, I have no problem. Going through the draft with Deshaun Watson. Now, that said, drafting a quarterback at 2, trading Sam gives us more picks. I don't think there's any downside to going with a quarterback other than that it's just a gamble. It seems like the gamble didn't work out with Sam either way. So, I don't know. Matt, what are your thoughts on drafting a quarterback at 2, still trading Sam? Does it give us a better shot at growing long term, or is Deshaun Watson the silver bullet?
I really think you could have success going both routes. And I think, we've explained that too. And it just goes about how you're going to want to build your roster. And the important thing with Douglas, so let's play the game a second. If he trades for Deshaun Watson, he has to do something that the last 2 Jets GMs were unable to do, and that's hit on mid-round picks and build your roster through the middle rounds, which good teams usually tend to do. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs with Travis Kelce in the 3rd round, and Tyreek Hill was in the 3rd round, and Mecole Hardman was in the 2nd round. Finding these guys in the mid rounds is super important in building a team. Whereas if you go with the rookie quarterback at 2 route, then you have that guy on a cheap deal for the next 4 or 5 years, and you can build a roster through spending a little bit more, which you wouldn't be able to do with Deshaun Watson. The difference is, Deshaun Watson's a top 5 quarterback right now as is, where you're taking the gamble that the player at 2 turns into a player like that.
Green Bean, any thoughts on is Deshaun Watson the silver bullet? Do we build the team long term, drafting a quarterback at 2 and trading down, or trading with Sam rather?
Well, here's the really cool thing about our situation right now is that we have 3 and 4 plans that are really viable. Like, they're very good plans, like A, B, and C. Let's call them. One, quickly, is Deshaun Watson. If we can get Deshaun Watson, who's going to complain about that, man? He's a top 5 quarterback. He's 25 years old. He's amazing, and I would love to have him. Plan B is we have the number 2 overall pick, the 23rd overall pick, the 34th overall pick, 2 firsts next year, 2 thirds, 4 fifths, 4 sixths. Like, we have the capital to build. So if the Deshaun Watson thing falls through, that's our plan B. Plan C is we use all the capital that we have. If we're not going to take a quarterback, we give Sam Darnold a chance, groom another quarterback, and just build this massive team around him, a la 2009 and 2010 around Sanchez. You build the wall, you stack with wide receivers, get some edge rushers, and you beat the shit out of everybody while the quarterback throws for 162 yards a game, and we go that way. So like we're in the driver's seat this year. So I think I'm okay. I really trust Joe Douglas not to make that boneheaded move to where everybody's saying, I cannot believe the Jets fell for this. That shit's over. I feel confident about that. And no matter what happens after that, whatever plan we choose, I trust it for a little while. I think we got good coaches too. So I feel good about whatever the plan is.
James coming in with a super chat says, we trade number 2 to the Niners for their 2021 first, 2021 second, 2022 first. Niners would love Wilson at 2. We use those picks and our second this year and 2022 first. Hold on, let me just see the rest of it. I think there might have been a little bit more that got cut off. But basically what he's saying is we should trade back with the Niners and use those assets to go and get Watson. Someone, actually it was my brother, I think, that sent me that. the trade down idea with the Niners. I wouldn't be upset with it. I just think the Texans want number 2. If they decide they don't want number 2, then I'm all for trading out of number 2, getting more draft assets, and just giving them some of those picks, because it just means we have more ammo. So I'm not against it. It probably depends on what we get. If we get their first, their second, and their first next year, yeah, I could roll with that. Green Bean, what are your thoughts on trading back with the Niners and then swapping some picks to go after Watson?
So then we'd be left with 23, 34 kind of thing. So we lose that pick for this year and then gain the next couple of years. Is that what he's saying? You think?
I don't know. I guess it depends what it depends
our first pick
what
is
the
23.
Yeah, because he says we use those picks and our second this year and 2022 first. So I guess it would mean we have I guess we would have 23, and we would have 23, and we basically give all the Niners picks plus our second round pick this year and a first next year, I guess, for us. So it would cost us a first and a second plus our trade down value, if I'm reading that correctly.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that's a tough one. That number 2 overall pick is good stuff. But then again, if you're going to get a whole mess of picks and you still got a first, I don't know. I think I'd be listening to everything right now. I really, that's the thing when you're talking about trading for Deshaun Watson and they want 3 firsts and one of them is the second round pick, and you have 2 offers to get 2 firsts or whatever it is for that pick. It's like, in our heads, that's not just one pick. That's a bunch of picks that we're turning down because the offers are coming in. They're at least starting these conversations. So I think it's really, you have to weigh all this stuff out. And if you were getting an offer like, okay, you get the 12 this year, you get our first the next 2 years, like, I would, yeah, okay. That gives you 3 firsts the next 2 years. That's serious. Or no, 2 and then 3 and then 2. That's serious business. I think you consider everything, but I don't know if I'd pull the trigger on that one. But it's interesting.
Matt, what do you think about trading down with the Niners and then swapping picks to get Watson?
I don't think that's likely because the trading of the picks, that would have to happen during draft weekend, most likely. And I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to be traded at that point. I think he's going to be long gone by the time we get to the draft. I think this is something that's going to happen in the next month or so.
Now, do you think it would have to happen draft weekend? Like, why would it have to happen draft weekend? If the Niners want number 2 pick to take Wilson, or maybe, if Wilson goes 1 and they're cool with Lawrence, you have to be cool with 2 quarterbacks just in case something squirrely happens. If they're good with Lawrence or Wilson, and the Texans are in a spot where, maybe if it is a 3-way trade, maybe Garoppolo does reunite with the New England guys in Houston with Jimmy G, and they are just good with taking a bunch of picks. Like, maybe it's not like we've heard people saying like, oh, well, he might go for 5 first-round picks, which, what are the value of those picks? Maybe they just want quantity. They don't necessarily care about quality, like the number 2 overall pick, like a lot of Jet fans are kind of thinking.
No, but like I'm saying, outside of the Jets trading for the number 3 pick in 2018 as early as they did, do you really remember a time where a team has swapped draft picks that early before the draft? I don't. I'm genuinely asking.
The RG3 trade was well ahead of time. So was the Wentz trade.
I was just gonna say, I know the RG3 trade was, and our trade up for Sam was right around now, wasn't it?
It was St. Patty's Day.
Wasn't it like right around?
It was March 17th.
Something like that. It's rare though. Matt had a caller on his show this weekend that brought up an interesting point. He said he talked about if they don't get the trade done before the draft, what does that do to the value or something like that? And your answer was good. And I agree. I think there's no way that the Texans are trading Deshaun Watson and not getting capital this year. If you wait till after the draft, right? So I think that I agree. I think this Watson trade's happening soon. It might be 2 weeks, but it's soon. It's going to happen soon, and we're going to know what this is.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen.
Later.
I think it happens before St. Patty's Day because that's when the new league year starts. We're going to hear the tampering period. I don't know if the tampering period starts on the 17th or if it starts on, like, say, the 14th because it's a 3-day tampering period. So I could see the trade getting done on the 14th so that way we know what free agents we could tamper with and sort of go that route. So it's interesting. Marty Thompson, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, Aussie Jet, good day. I just add this accent in. But I like good day, mate. There's a crocodile over there. With Darnold only 23 years old, going with all the picks we have now, how do we fare in 2 years compared to Watson now without all the high picks? It depends what we get Watson for. If Watson's a first each of the next 3 years, then we still have our high picks. It's not going to be an issue. We would have taken a quarterback at 2 anyway. So if you wind up using that pick and they go up to the podium and they say at the number 2 overall pick, the Jets select Deshaun Watson. Like I think it was Greenbean that said it last week. It would make a ton of sense. Now, look, that's really all I can go on that. I'm not too sure. I think Sam with a trade down and adding a bunch of picks is not a bad route. I would say that's option C for me. Matt, anything you're thinking as far as building around Watson without the picks or Sam with picks?
I'll say my answer like this. You're more likely to have success with a top 5 quarterback than a bottom third of the league quarterback.
That's a good way to put that. Green Bean, your thoughts?
Yeah, it is a good way to put it. No, that's good. I like that. Succinct.
Perfect. Stevie comes in with another super chat saying, remember, no GM is worth his salt. No GM worth his salt would tie himself to a failing quarterback that has no hand in drafting. That equates to career suicide. Darnold is gone. I think that's where all of us sort of stand. He was not a quarterback taken by Saleh, by Douglas. So why tie yourself to him? With Watson, that's a 5-year contract. With Wilson or Fields or whoever the rookie is, that's a 5-year contract. You are linking these guys up perfectly. So I think Watson or drafting the quarterback 1A, 1B make a lot more sense than rolling with Sam. Green Bean, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think the way you just put it is really interesting. It's like, Douglas has just about 5 years left. They just inked Saleh for 5 years, and the quarterback coming in is 5 years. I mean, it's too perfect. And then you have Sam Darnold, this kind of X factor. Do I have to give him his 5th-year option? What's it worth? All this sort of stuff. And again, Joe Douglas didn't draft him. It's time to start fresh with all respect to Sam Darnold. I don't think there's anybody on this panel and most Jets fans that feel anger or anything towards him. It's like, we like him. We wanted him to succeed, but it's just, it would be a silly move to keep him in the mix. It's really taken a risk that doesn't make any sense to do.
Matt, your thoughts on any GM worth his salt not tying himself to Darnold?
Yeah, I don't understand why he would want to tie himself to a guy that he didn't draft when he could take his own guy sitting right there at 2 or trade for a 25-year-old quarterback who's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Guys, we have 672 people across all 3 channels here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit a like. We only have about 100 likes or so in there. Get that up over 200. And if you want to be a part of the 10 o'clock mock after this show, I'll be going live. It's going to be a member exclusive, so if you want to be a part of that, there is a blue join button below this screen. If you join that, any membership tier you'd like to join, we'll have access to it. And you also get all the cool little emojis you see popping up in the chat over there. The Sesh comes in saying, I seen Watson in Jersey looking at houses. Oh, man. I hope so. I hope that's not a lie because I would be very upset.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's living real close to Florham Park. I would love that. Eddie DeJesus says, don't forget to hit the like button. Guys, make sure you hit the like button. Pierre Luc Biochard. That was me attempting to make a French name. I don't understand people who want Deshaun Watson so bad and give 4 first-round picks. We don't have a good team. Anyway, right now, trade down, number 2, and draft a lot. I don't love the idea of giving up 4 first-round picks. That would be like a very tough pill to swallow. I mean, if you said one first round pick each of the next 3 years, and say pick 34, that to me is close enough to a first round pick, and the number 2 pick is so valuable already. That would probably be my ceiling on an offer for Watson. Matt, what are your thoughts on this topic?
4 is a lot. I think you can make it work potentially with 4. I like 3. I think that's the sweet spot. I think that's probably where it's going to be. I don't think the Texans are going to be able to get that 4th one because Deshaun really has the leverage in my eyes. I don't know if I like the idea of trading down at a 2 because you're betting on the worst starting quarterback in football last year. So we're going to say, I don't want the top 5 quarterback. I would rather stick with the 32nd best starting quarterback in football. Like, that's the logic that doesn't add up to me.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm falling on this as well. Ronnie Rodriguez and Frankie Petro, thank you so much for becoming members of the Jets Talk 24/7 family. I'll see you at the 10 o'clock mock after this stream. Green Bean, your thoughts on Deshaun Watson and giving away 4 first-round picks potentially?
Well, I think it's funny because it's just that's a very gloomy way to look at things because the Texans aren't even asking for 4 firsts. So I don't know where that's coming from. You know, the leak that came out was 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and there is a difference between seconds and firsts. So the idea that we're going to give them 4 firsts is just somebody looking to have something to fear, in my opinion. It's like, and that's the Texans starting point. That's anybody who knows anything about negotiations, one side starts high, one side starts low, and you try to see how close to the middle that you can get and still win if you can. So I think Matt put up a good point. I mean, 3 picks. Don't forget, just like Ryan said this morning, or not this morning, earlier in this fucking thing we're doing here, that they don't even allow you to go 3 years into the future as far as first round picks. So most teams can't even do 3 first round picks. So it's like, we got to remember, let's bring this back to reality a little bit. Deshaun Watson, you're going to pay for Deshaun Watson. He's one of the better players in the league. You're going to pay. But the idea that we're going to give 4 first-round picks and hamstring ourselves that we can't draft anybody else, it's not real. And the videos that you guys made on it about what you can do with what's left, with the free agent money that's left and the picks that are left, dude, you can crush it. We still have so much capital, so we don't fear. And Joe Douglas look at all the deals he's had so far. He hasn't lost one of them. As far as his trades, he has not made one bad trade yet. And the Jamal Adams trade was borderline brilliant, what he pulled off. So he's going to get a good deal, man. He's not going to screw himself. So just feel okay. Relax, everybody. Take a breath. We're going to be fine.
Prime Time comes in with a super chat. I don't see any message there. It says retracted, but I'll read your name because it makes me giggle. It says Prime Times Shat. Prime Times Shat. Thank you for the super chat. Stevie comes in and says Schefter, value for Jets quarterback Sam Darnold is a late first. This was just said and can provide link to Green Bean to share with both of you. Yeah, Schefter's saying Sam is worth a first round pick, a late first round pick, and I think all of us are a little surprised by that, but also not entirely shocked based on what Stafford just went for. So, Green Bean, I'll throw it to you first. Anything to add on the whole Schefter possibly saying the Jets could get Schefter saying that the Jets could possibly get a first-round pick for Sam?
Yeah, well, this is Stevie. He actually sent me that link. If you guys want it, I have it. It's right here in my magic cube, so I can send that to you guys. Again, that's Sack Exchange 99 on Twitter. If you guys want to, I mean, I swear to God, I think he's awake 24 hours a day. There's never a time that I'm awake and I reach out on Twitter that he's not there. So he always has the next thing, and he's a good guy to follow. But I think Schefter is right in there. And Schefter's a guy you can trust too. He's not saying this out of his ass. This is what he's hearing. So I think it's realistic, and I think we can look for a late first, early second for Sam.
Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would be surprised if it's a first, but very happy if they somehow get a first. And the only teams that I could see potentially doing that are like the Steelers, the Saints, someone like that. I don't think Washington's giving up the first from where they're sitting. What are they at? Like 19? I don't think they're
Yeah.
gonna
Yep.
give that up.
Yeah, no. I do think Washington's a strong possibility to trade for Sam. So maybe it's something like if the Jets had to give up Sam, and is it the second round pick or is it a third round pick? I don't know what the value is, but do you possibly consider jumping up to 19 using Sam?
Well, yeah, if you could tell me it's one of the third round picks and Sam to get 19, then hell yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, boy.
Ryan Talks NY, thank you for the super chat, says, who do you guys think we can pick up in free agency for wide receiver 1? I think we can get a better deal for Godwin than A-Rob, Allen Robinson. Go Jets. I really like Godwin. I would say this. Godwin, if we can reel in Godwin, I would be very, very happy with that. He's a lot younger. I think he's younger than Robinson by 3 years. That said, if we get Robinson, I'd be totally stoked on this. I know Matt's brought it up before. I think Douglas and this offense strike me as a team that may want to go for value at the wide receiver position, and I think Curtis Samuel is a really good spot, or is a really good price tag for what Douglas is going to be looking for. I don't know if it would be the only receiver we add. It could be like Samuel and, I don't know who another good example of a, maybe a big-bodied wide receiver that may not cost a ton of money, but I could see us doing something along those routes. Matt, what about you? What do you think the Jets do for wide receiver 1? Who we getting?
What about Samuel and Corey Davis? I feel like those are 2 middle-tier free agents, right?
I like Corey Davis. Someone sent
Corey
me
Davis,
another
yeah.
name that I didn't have on my radar, and now I'm blanking on it. I feel so bad. But it was another pretty big wide receiver. I want to say it was from... I lost it.
But
Yeah, no, Corey Davis would be a good one. Corey Davis would be a really good one.
I think so. And they've got a ton out of him this last year, especially. But as far as Godwin goes, yeah, I mean, he's a great receiver. That'd be, a lock in as a number 1 receiver. I prefer Robinson, but Godwin probably is number 2 on my list, and then Galladay 3.
Green Bean, what are you thinking we do for wide receiver 1?
I think Danny Amendola is the answer. That's what I think. He's only 50? I think he is now. I can't believe he's still. But yeah, I think Godwin. It's funny. We got into this debate last night in the mock, and then today with a bunch of guys. And I really think that in addition to the youth and the ability to play the slot a little bit more than Robinson, I think Godwin is going to be cheaper. He's probably going to go for like 12 to 14, where Robinson is going to be like 18 to 20.
No way.
I think
you
this
think
year's
so?
Gonna be
you think Godwin's going to be that cheap?
That's yeah.
I mean, I guess he could be cheap.
14.
Maybe it's a 1 year cheaper deal because of the cap restrictions. I think he's worth $20 million all day.
No,
you don't think so?
No way. I don't. Well, that we can debate that. I mean, I really feel strongly that Godwin's not. He's not the typical number 1 receiver. Where Allen Robinson, if he comes on board, he's the clear-cut number 1 wide receiver on your team. Godwin, it's not necessarily the case. He's not there. He can be the number 1, and he would be the number 1 on the Jets. But I think that 14 is probably his cap. It may be a tick above that, but I think this year is going to be interesting because everybody's going to be lower, as we've talked about, because of the salary cap dropping. But in a normal year, Robinson's looking at 18 to 20, and Godwin's looking at like 14, in my opinion. So I think you're going to get him cheaper. He's younger, more versatile. But again, he's not that prototypical number 1 wide receiver, and that's going to impact what teams want to give him. So, but I would be just as happy. It's funny as we think about this. I don't know if we're going to go star hunting for the wide receiver position, even though we kind of got slapped around with that. And Joe Douglas probably learned some lessons this year in the wide receiver room. But I don't know if he's going to pull out the big bucks for a wide receiver, especially when he can grab another young guy. And like we're just saying, somebody like Curtis Samuel. I don't know. I think that's probably more of what we're going to end up seeing.
Muttviles Multivitamin says JD will fleece the Texans for Watson. Remember, in the famous words of Primetime, they traded DeAndre Hopkins for a 2, a 4, and who? Ryan, sing my next super chat like a pirate, and I'll donate $100 $100. I will sing your next super chat like a pirate. I don't know if I can sing like a pirate, but I'll try to do my best pirate voice for whatever it is. This is like one of those things like you play with your friends like, how much would you do this for? And then you start finding out like how wacky your friends really are. but that's where we're trending on this type of super chat. So yeah, no, I think a lot of that had to do with Bill O'Brien being there and giving up what he gave up to get rid of Hopkins. I think that was a mistake. Now maybe that was to pay Deshaun Watson the money that he got, but I don't know. I don't think I do think we'd be satisfied with whatever Douglas gets in the Watson trade. I think it'll be better than what people think Watson's going to go for. Matt, your thoughts?
I don't Bill O'Brien not being there definitely hurts. But I don't trust the Texans organization. They're toxic as hell. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do something stupid. And I do think that Deshaun Watson has more of the leverage. So maybe it's not as much. I don't think it's going to be like a green bean package that he was talking about earlier when this first came out. Sorry, green bean. But I think it's going to be somewhere. It's going to be somewhere in between where what they're asking, which is the 4 and the couple of players. That's way too high. 2 firsts and some a defensive player and another mid-round pick, sure. 3 firsts, sure. But I don't think it's going to be a fleece job.
Green Bean, your thoughts on the JD fleecing the Texans in a Watson trade?
I think JD is going to do just fine. That's what I think. I think if they are firm on a deal that does not make sense for the Jets, he's not going to do it. Again, plan B is that we have the 2nd overall pick, the 23rd overall pick, 34th overall pick, and 2 firsts next year and 2 thirds this year. Like, we're fine. This is a golden nugget. If we can grab it, if we can take it, we're going to take it. But he's not going to sacrifice everything for something that wasn't even real when he started this offseason planning. You know what I mean? They already have their plan. You know what I'm saying? So this is something they're going to go for it, and they're going to pay. Like, Deshaun Watson's not going to come for nothing. But I just don't see Joe Douglas getting beat up on this fleecing. Man, I'd be so happy if he pulled up another Jamal Adams trade, because that was so good, dude. And I don't know if that's going to happen, but he's going to be fine.
I think the way that Douglas could fleece the Texans and make it look better than maybe it is or not would be trading not a crazy ton of draft picks. Like, maybe it's 2 firsts, but maybe it's eating some really bad contracts. And maybe we don't have as much money for free agency this year, but we're not giving up as many assets. And maybe Douglas goes bargain bin shopping in free agency like he's done, last year. And we don't get to see the big names like a Thuney or like an Allen Robinson or something along those lines. That would be where I would kind of see him maybe fleecing in air quotes. I don't know. It's a thought. Mumtaz comes in saying, giving up on Sam is crazy. You give up on quarterbacks after you give them everything and they fail. With Sam, he got batshit, or he got bad shit. Yeah, he got shit from the Jets and nothing else far higher. And if nothing else, far higher rated than Wilson. Look, I love the potential of Sam Darnold. And if the Jets are sitting at pick 12 this year, I'm rolling it back with Sam. I'm not taking a quarterback at 12, but the Jets have the number 2 overall pick, and I think that's why we're really considering it. If the Jets had the number 12 pick and Watson was, on the trade block, I'd be considering Watson as well. It's not as much against Sam as much as it is for other potential possibilities and just sort of aligning the whole roster and the GM, the head coach, the quarterback, all that. Matt, what are your thoughts?
If Sam Darnold even took a lateral step this year from year 2 to year 3, we're not having this conversation today. The Jets probably are picking somewhere between 10 and 15. They probably went 6 and 10 on the season, something like that, 7 and 9, somewhere in that range. But that wasn't the case. He took a significant step backwards. Joe Flacco looked better. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. He was statistically better than Sam Darnold this year in the games that he played. I really like the kid. I was high on him, but he is a reclamation project at this point, and that's extremely risky when you have either Deshaun Watson or a quarterback at number 2 staring you right in the face.
Greenbean, your thoughts on Sam not getting a fair shake with all the talent?
Yeah, here's the thing. Let me just make this very, very clear. I agree that Sam got a raw deal here. I mean, I think it's bullshit what happened to that poor guy. He did not even have a quarterback coach. The only reason that people think so highly of McCown is because, as far as him being a coach, is because the way he took Sam under his wing and kind of acted like one because he didn't fucking have one. So I agree. The worst line, and we can go on and on and on. But his former situation under Todd Bowles and Adam Gase does not and should not force a guilt response that, like, hey, he got a bum deal, so now I have to. So we hamstring Coach Salah with him, and then Joe Douglas ties his career. It just doesn't go that way. This is what we say. Those are the breaks. And it's sad. And nobody here was rooting against Sam. Matt just nailed it. If he would have just taken a lateral and just played as well as he played the year before, which wasn't good, mind you. He was not a top 10 quarterback or anything like that. If he would have just did that, but he didn't, man. He was the play where he stared at Mims, fucking eyes to eyes, and ran towards him and just couldn't throw the ball. It spoke volumes about where Sam Darnold is right now. He's shell-shocked, and you don't want to go into a new regime hoping that he gets unshell-shocked. It sucks, but it's just the way. It's smarter business-wise to just move on and start fresh with your whole new organization.
Yeah, 100%. John Nolte, I see you coming in the chat saying, Greenbean, what's the name of your YouTube channel? It's linked down in the description down below. There's 2 YouTube channels linked next to Greenbean's name. One is the Jet Nation YouTube, and one is Greenbean's personal YouTube. So make sure you sub up both of them. Yes. He puts out some great, I guess it wouldn't be a vlog. I guess a podcast. What would you call the?
I'm making some vlogs too. I have a vlog, a late night vlog, and I do my weekly podcast as well. I was naked in one of them. You can watch them all and see where it is.
Oh God, I'm not going to answer that. Jeff Loke coming in with a super chat says, when do you guys think Watson decision is made by? You got to think it's before free agency, right? Definitely got to be before the draft. Yeah, 100%. I think it's got to be by the start of free agency because free agents are going to free agents are not going to the Texans. It's not going to happen with this looming over their heads. They're going to want to know some type of plan is in place. If they're drafting a young quarterback, then at least you can sort of start to plan for that. You sign maybe some lower tier guys or something that want to go in there. And the Jets are going to want to have this happen before free agency, so that way their free agents know who's coming in and might take a little bit less. Like maybe if Allen Robinson wants to take $20 million from another team, maybe he takes $16 or $17 million here to play with Watson. I don't know. Matt, what do you think? When does the Watson trade happen if it does?
I would agree. I think it's before free agency. That makes a ton of sense because you're going to want to know when you're going into free agency who your quarterback is, or your plan at least. If you're going to say, hey, okay, we're going to draft somebody, you want to know that. If you want to go into free agency and say, hey, we have Deshaun Watson, then that's going to obviously change your plan in free agency. So I'm going to say by, was it March 17th, free agency starts?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could even be, I'd have to look. I don't know if free agency starts on the 17th or if that's the start of the tampering period. Because if we're actually talking specific date, it could be March 14th, which is, if that is the tampering period, it'll happen just before the start of free agency, I think. Greenbean, your thoughts on the whole Deshaun Watson. When do you think Deshaun Watson is traded, Greenbean? Tonight. I love it. Hopefully it happens while we're live on stream.
I think it's soon. It's within a couple weeks. Sorry, I'm just fucking around.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Jay Ruck Entertainment, Music, and Media coming in with a super chat says, Logic, Greenbean, thank you. Watson or keep Sam? Logic. If Sam is good for the Saints, this Jets is new for Sam also. Logic. So basically he's saying that if he's good enough to get traded to the Saints, he's good enough to stay on the Jets. The biggest thing I have with Sam is just that to line everything up is so big. And if we're picking 12 or if Watson's not an option, I'm rolling with Sam. I have no problem with that. I think he has to be plan C though. I think maybe not even plan C. It may be Watson plan A, Wilson plan B, trade down, take a quarterback, or I don't know. There's a lot of moving pieces here. Matt, what are your thoughts on Sam is good enough for the Saints? Why isn't he good enough for the Jets?
That's a great question because he wouldn't be good enough for the Saints if the Saints had the number 2 pick, but they don't. They're picking what, 25? Where does it?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what their number is.
Doesn't matter. The point is they have no cap space and don't have a top 15 pick. That's why Sam Darnold's good enough for them. Pittsburgh has an aging quarterback and right around in that same spot in the late 20s. Teams that are picking in the top 15 are not going to be trying to get Sam Darnold because guess what? There's probably going to be 4 quarterbacks going in the top 15. So if you want to get into the conversation of is Sam Darnold better than Mac Jones or Kyle Trask, that's a legitimate debate. But over Trey Lance or Justin Fields or Zach Wilson or Trevor Lawrence at this point, I don't think that's debatable.
Yeah, no, completely agree. John in the chat just says, Raiders talking 4 number 1s. We brought this up earlier. You can only trade 3 years worth of draft picks out, and the Raiders only have 3 first-round picks over the next 3 years. So they would have to trade someone of high value to get another first, then trade all those first to get to them just to put that point across. Green Bean, what are your thoughts on Sam being good enough for the Saints but not good enough for the Jets?
Well, let me say this. I don't think that was the Raiders. I think that was Chris Sims saying the Raiders should do that.
I heard Cowherd say it too.
Yeah, well, maybe not. Well, yeah, it was funny. What's the guy who does who's the main host with Chris Sims' show? What's his name again? You guys
That's
remember?
Yeah, it's
Florio.
Old tired.
Florio, yeah.
Yeah.
The Pro Football.
Florio corrected him and said that that's really not possible. So, anyway, that was just the point. But here's the thing. Matt's point is so good that I'm only going to add one thing to it. The point about if they were picking at number 2, nobody in the top 10 is talking about trading for Sam Darnold. I'd be blown away. But the other thing to remember, somebody compared it to the Chiefs with Alex Smith and all, and it's like the Chiefs have Andy Reid, a coach who's been to the Super Bowl, whose job security is intact, it was just one of the strongest coaches in the league. The Saints have Sean Payton, same track record, been to the Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl. His reputation and job security is not in question. The Steelers, Mike Tomlin, not in question. They've been to the Super Bowl, like the whole thing. We're talking about a brand new organization taking a chance on a guy who has played the 32nd best football of any starting quarterback in the league. The situations aren't the same. It's really important. And this is like when we were talking about earlier, why isn't Fields or Wilson number 1 and all? It's like it's not as cut and dry as the players versus the player. There are situations intact. And when you're looking at the New York Jets in our situation right now with the assets that we have versus the Saints in their situation right now and the assets that they have, they're completely different situations. So the question is not as easy as, well, if he's good enough for Sean Payton, he's good enough for me. That's a totally different bag over there. It's an entirely different situation. So I think that coupled with what Matt said, that's a pretty good answer to that question, I think.
Stevie coming in with another super chat. Your message was retracted, so I apologize. I cannot answer that question.
Probably said something terrible.
Ooh, yeah, what a jerk. That Stevie character, that sack exchange guy. Ronnie Rodriguez coming in with super chat says, hey guys, I'm a huge Jets fan from Cali. There aren't a lot of us out here, by the way. What would be your dream quarterback, wide receiver, running back for this offseason be? That's a really good question. That's a fun one. Dream scenario, Watson at quarterback, wide receiver 1, probably Robinson, if we could figure out some way to swing it. And then running back, I really like Kenny Gainwell. I think since we're going to be picking a little bit later if we're trading for Watson, I think a 3rd round pick on Gainwell would be kind of what I'm looking at there. That said, you could spin me on a whole bunch of different kinds of wide receivers and running backs, but Watson's definitely the quarterback. Matt, your thoughts? Who is your top QB, wide receiver, and running back for this offseason?
I'm gonna go Watson, Robinson, and Jamal Williams for the running back.
Ooh, that's a good one. Green Bean, what is your dream scenario for quarterback, wide receiver, and running back?
Wait, the players from free agent? I'm sorry, I was in the
So
chat again. I apologize.
that's all right. So the question is, what is your dream scenario for quarterback, wide receiver, and running back this offseason? I don't know if it's necessarily free agent. I think it's just free agency, draft, anything.
All right. Okay, dream scenario, not what I really think who should be taken where. It would be Deshaun Watson, Allen Robinson, Najee Harris. I think that would be, if Najee fell to the third kind of a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or what if Najee falls to, say, pick 34? Are you pulling the trigger there, or you think we got to go corner or edge at that point, or guard?
Yeah, I think we got to go.
It's
I'm
not the running back.
Right. Well, I just think it's too early, man. I think, look, and it's funny. I just listened to O'Leary's most recent podcast today tomorrow's moving day. So I spent all day outside, and I like to listen to Matt when that's happening. So anyway, he addressed a lot of this stuff, and I happen to agree. And it's just like, I think that's too early for a running back. And there's nothing that Joe Douglas has ever done that indicates that we're going to take a running back that high. It doesn't, I would be blown away. And I think it's probably smarter to wait till we go to the third. Guard and edge are priorities this year, man. Priorities. So that's what I think we're going to do up there.
Yeah. Ian Tyler coming in with super chat. Thank you so much. He says, why are people undervaluing number 2? Number 2 is worth 3 firsts alone. Why not package number 23, our 2 firsts next year, along with players, then trade down from 2? That answer is very simple. It depends how many people are involved in this trade, and if number 2 is the reason the Jets are the whole, leaders in this clubhouse. The Jets have the most to offer. The number 2 pick is so valuable. Trading number 2 and then maybe trading less picks makes more sense to me than giving up 23, 2 firsts. I mean, if you could do that, great. That would be awesome. Now, number 2 is worth 3 firsts. They're worth 3 late firsts. I think there's probably some debate. If you give up number 2 overall and number 34 overall, that's the equivalent of 3 number 16 overall picks. So if you can give up 2 and 34 and call it a day, hey, I'll throw in Sam Darnold with it, then if that gets it done, it gets it done. I'd be all for it. But I think 3 firsts is probably what's going to have to happen in some sort of capacity. Green Bean, I'll throw it to you first, since I know you're big on the whole undervaluing of number 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like what you just said. If it's 3 number 16 picks, you got to think, like, who else in this mix? Like, you got Miami, you got the Patriots. The Patriots are sitting at 15, if I remember correctly. So, like, that's what they're offering. Like, that's what they're coming in offering. They're offering the 15th pick. And if you look at the Patriots' history, even though Tom Brady's not there, traditionally they're picking in the late 20s. So, whatever picks they're offering, the Texans would be wise to consider that. When they're talking to the Jets, our history says that we're picking in the top 15. The Patriots' history is that they're picking in the back end of the draft. So our picks should be worth more. And like, if you're a smart team and you're looking at all the variables, you would consider that, that sort of stuff. So I think, but it's interesting too, when they asked for 2 defensive players, 2 defensive stars, if I remember the way I read it.
Starters, I think, is what it was.
Starters, that's what it was. I'm like, stars doesn't feel right. So who do we have? Like, if
Bless Austin, Ashton Davis, those are starters. We got the worst starters in the friggin' league. I'll give you 2 starters, sure.
Right. Who take anybody you like from our defense? Jordan Jenkins. But like, what about like Fatu Kasi or John Franklin Myers? These are young, up and coming guys. They're going to lose Watt this year, whether they trade him or just cut him. He's $17 million. I don't see them able to keep him, and I don't think he has any guaranteed money. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not a big hit if they lose him this year.
There's no hit. So it's 17.5 clear off their cap, whether it's through trade or cut. Right.
So think about that. So they're going to be looking to replace Watt, somebody like John Franklin Myers, who's an up and coming guy, and young, as is Fatu Kasi. Those guys might be attractive. Maybe an Ashton Davis. another talented young guy with plenty of upside. Those types of guys. I think if you're able to take that initial presentation, that 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 players, and you're able to give 2 firsts and the 2 players and kind of meet them there, you might be able to get it done.
Justin Rivera, thank you so much for becoming the newest member of the Jets Talk 24/7 family. We will be doing a 10 o'clock mock after this stream for members only, so if you want to be a part of it, there's a little blue join button below the screen. You also get a bunch of really cool emojis, so all the members that are in the chat, drop your JETS. Let me see your Robert Saleh screaming face. Let me see your green bean frozen, or your freeze bean. Let me see Matt's head almost shaking, but not quite shaking. Let me see it. Matt, your thoughts on why people are undervaluing number 2, and what do you think about it in a trade down? Or not in a trade down, but in a trade situation.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, I think why the Texans are so intrigued to trade with the Jets and the Dolphins is because they have top 5 picks. I don't think they're necessarily looking to trade for, like, what is it? Where are the Raiders picking? Like, that is that intriguing to them to pick there, or
I think
San Francisco?
16 or 17.
Right, but I think part of the reason why they want to trade with the Jets and the Dolphins is because they're picking so high. So, yes, they hold a lot of value, but we also are trading for a a top commodity like a Deshaun Watson. So that's why you're going to have to give up all that value.
Yeah, 100%. Ed Venard, I just want to throw your comment out there real quick. He says, "I like watching you guys on weed."
Yeah.
Oh God, I love watching
Great
replays
comment.
of us. Yeah, okay, perfect. Mutt Viles coming in with another super chat. My boy, multivitamins, says there once was a team.
Pirate.
Oh no, well it wasn't $100. What the hell? Oh, maybe I have to do it in the pirate voice to get that. All right. Hold on, let me mentally prepare. I'm just gonna fucking go for it. Why not? All right. There once was a team 'twas lost at sea till their God, I'm so bad at this. I'm bad at reading, bad at doing this. There once was a team 'twas lost at sea till there came a man named Tom Brady, ditched Winston, Winston, began to throw to win. Throw less picks, Tom throws. Hooah! God, that was brutal. That was brutal. I'm so bad. I could do a pirate voice, but I can't do a pirate voice and try to read at the same time. So I apologize about that. Matt, I'm gonna let you try to read this in your best pirate voice, and Greenbean, you're up next. So let's see how you guys do.
There once was a team 'twas lost at sea, till there came a man named Tom Brady. Ditched Winston, they began to win. Throw less picks, Tom throws. Hooah!
That is way better than me. Way better than me.
Where is it?
It's on the screen right now. It's on the screen right now.
It.
What do you mean you don't see it? Look at the YouTube screen.
It.
It's right there. It's on the YouTube screen. Pull up YouTube. Hit refresh. Maybe you're lagging. You got some freeze beam going on over there.
Yeah, I think I might, because I'm looking at why are people undervaluing the 2? Like, why are people undervaluing?
Steve in the chat says I could have typed a better pirate voice. Oh God.
I'll nail it for you. Where is it? Now I gotta fucking skip the ads because I don't have premium on this one.
All right. Way to go. Way to
Here we go. Okay, I'm ready.
There once was a team 'twas lost at sea, till there came a man named Tom Brady. Ditched Winston, they began to win. Throw less picks, Tom throws. Hooah! Here.
How's that?
God, man, I would listen to either of you two read a book on tape. I'm friggin' illiterate and I can't read to save my life, so I apologize. Mine was horrible.
Walk the plank.
They say we need a new pirate emote in the chat. We'll see if we get a few more members. Maybe we can add another one over there. Joe Pekulik. Thank you so much for the super chat. Says, hey guys, good job as usual. Agree on the Sam analysis. Very sad though. What are your thoughts about loading up on edge and taking 2 in the first 3 rounds? I love that idea if we don't wind up going with a free agent edge rusher as well. So for me, I would like to go after, Matt's brought it up in his offseason, Romeo Okwara. I would like to look at Trey Hendrickson from the Saints. I think both those guys are interesting options for the Jets in free agency. And then I would like to draft an edge rusher, whether it be at 23 or 34. And then if you want to throw another edge rusher in there in the third round, I think we need it. We haven't had it in so long. Getting to the quarterback is the second most important thing after getting the quarterback. So, Matt, what are your thoughts on loading up on edge rushers too in the first 3 rounds?
Sure, I'm down for it, especially because you have 2 third round picks. I love Patrick Jones, so I'll say Patrick Jones and then maybe like Carlos Basham, someone like that. I feel like he's a second or third round kind of guy.
Ooh, Green Bean, what are your thoughts about double dipping on edge in the first 3 rounds?
Man, I would be excited. Like if we went, let's say we get Deshaun Watson and our first 3 picks are like a guard and 2 edge rushers. Oh man, I'd be like, fuck, I would feel like we're trying to punch people in the face. Like that's good football to me. But I would love to see Patrick Jones and like Joe Tryon a little bit later, like just a touch later. Those 2 guys. Yeah, Basham's another one. Isn't Basham more of an OLB though? I forget. They all smeared together to me.
I like Tryon a lot. He opted out this year. He was someone I had in my original mock-off season halfway through the season. So I'm a big fan of him, and I like the Patrick Jones name you guys have been dropping too a lot.
Yeah.
Mud Files comes through with the super chat. I'll get to that. I'll get that in a second, Mud Files. Yeah, so any other thoughts, Green Bean, or those are your 2 guys, Patrick Jones and
that's good.
I like it. I like it.
Parker
Dugan, Ed Vennard, thank you so much for becoming the newest members of the Jets Talk 24/7 channel. We have a 10 o'clock mock coming out after this stream for members only, so if you want to become a member, there's a blue join button down below the screen. Guys, let me see your JETS emojis for the new members in the chat. Let's see. I'm going to get through these 2 super chats, then I'm going to go to Mutt Files. So Mutt Files, hang tight. I will get to it in just a second. I'm just lagging behind a little bit here. Sneakers to Boots. Question for Sneakers to Boots. Is that the name of a business that you own? Because I know a Sneakers to Boots that is in Warwick, and I used to get my I think it was my track shoes from there. Sneakers to Boots says, I love Sam and originally wanted to move forward with him, but he made a lot of rookie mistakes, missing wide open reads. Joe Douglas and Salah won't put their names on a Mike McCagnon pick that got ruined. I completely agree. I think neither one of these guys are going to link up their names with Sam Darnold when they have the opportunity to get one of Watson or Wilson or Fields. Green Bean, any thoughts on this?
No, I think I froze out on you guys for
That's
a minute,
right.
And I can see it in the chat.
I was gonna say the freeze bean emoji's been strong. Matt, any thoughts on obviously not rolling with Sam and possibly going or thoughts about not rolling with Sam? I guess why they wouldn't put their names on it.
Yeah, it makes total sense because like they have no attachment to this guy. He was drafted when Bowles and McCagnon were here. Another coach came and went. This is a new GM. They have an opportunity to get their own guy and grow with him. The Jets are never on like the same page. They never have the quarterback, GM, and coach lined up, and you could finally do that now. So I think they're going to try to do that.
Jordan Ivy coming in with super chat says Schefter hinting Jets may get a late first round pick for Sam. That'd be huge. Yes, 100% it would be huge. We would be going out our minds if we could get a first round pick for Sam. Could you imagine having 3 first round picks? I would make sure we trade Sam like after we get Deshaun Watson, so that way it's like they don't try to get that first round pick from Sam to go with them. Guys, anything to add more on the Sam Darnold first topic? Green Bean.
Well, look, we've talked about it a lot, but I think like what you just said was a nice wrinkle. It's like, but like think about it. If we end up front loading this thing, we say, hey man, we want to give you all the picks like kind of now. And then we turn around and trade for Sam and get one right back. You know what I mean? Like that's that, dude. It shows that Joe Douglas has the ability to accumulate assets. And I'd be really happy with it. Like Matt said, I mean, like, if it's a first, it's not like that we're thinking Sam needs to get a first, but I think these reports about the end of the first round are good, and I would love to see it, and it would be really great if we could keep it and use it this year, and then do that double up in the edge. That'd be fantastic.
Parker Dugan in the chat says, what does this emoji mean, Ryan? That's Highway 77. That's the big ticket Becton, over there. That's what that emoji means. I guess I'll have to change it. Not clear enough. Matt, any thoughts on the late first for Sam?
I would be very excited to have 3 first-round picks. That would help you rebuild the roster.
100%. Mutt Files, here it is. There's your super chat. Thank you so much. And man, I would say we probably earned it with that sad, or maybe I guess Green Bean and Matt earned it. I suck. I can't do a pirate voice to save my life. But he says, oh my effing God. Laugh my ass off. Love you guys. That made me laugh so much. All of you were great. By the way, if you watched Gridiron Heights, you will understand the song. Support these fine gentlemen. Hope I can meet you guys at a tailgate one day. JETS, 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 Jets. Yes, Mutt Viles, we hopefully can meet you as well. There's going to be a point at some point in this next season, I believe, assuming all the COVID things kind of clear itself out, it seems like we're going to be linking up to go to a Jets game. And we'll let you guys know when that is, and we'll try to get some sort of tailgate going and do something along those lines. But thank you so much, Mutt Viles, for doing that. Let's see. Let's take a look at some of the comments in the chat, things that might be popping up that I'm just sort of missing here. Mike G with some salad bowls. That's the Robert salad. I like it. Where is it? What else is on here? I thought I saw one that said Matt's drinking vodka.
I had whiskey before, drinking water now.
Yeah, I could smell it. I was like, that's a good scotch he's got over there.
Here's my my plug. This is what I was having. I had a Kalo beforehand. That is a CBD infused seltzer. For those of you that have not had it, it's really good. Like I had one of these. I had 2 of them on one of my worst days of work that I had this season. And I crushed 2 cans. I was like, oh, I hate everything. It was the first time I ever had it. I crushed the 2 cans. I sit back half hour later and I'm just like, work doesn't suck so much. I'm going to be all right. I'm not feeling loopy. I'm not feeling high or anything, but I'm definitely like, you know what? This doesn't suck. Bubba5221, my brother. Thank you so much for becoming the newest member of the Jets Talk 24/7 channel. Boys, drop that JETS in the chat to welcome our new member to the channel. He wants to be a part of our member exclusive 10 o'clock mock at the end of this stream. Guys, we got about 200 likes on this video. We have over 500 people across all 3 platforms. Make sure you drop a like on this on your way in or out. That way, anyone that tunes in after the fact would want to possibly tune in and hang out and have some fun with us. Maybe we get some more questions, some more engaging conversation. John Nolte, brother, coming a member of the Jet Talk 24/7 channel. Oh, man, I'm going to sweat out of my shirt. I'm just acting up too much. All right, what else we got going on in the chat over here? TA says the ticket. That's the little emoji we had going up. Becton is Highway 77. Grant says, remember when y'all were in love with Fields? That was the correct take. I can't stand people wanting a tier 3 quarterback. I think he's saying that Zach Wilson is a tier 3 quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I was high on Fields because he was slinging the rock all over the place on Clemson. I would have loved to seen him do that against Alabama, but he played hurt against Alabama. I still give Fields credit for that. I think it was not a true test on either side. Like, I don't think the Clemson game is what you're going to get entirely out of Fields, and I don't think the Alabama game is entirely what you're going to get out of Fields. It's somewhere in the middle there. And like Matt brought up earlier, Green Bean said it too, I think any of us are going to be very happy if it's Wilson or Fields if we draft either one of those quarterbacks, because the ceiling is just so high for both guys. I would really, really enjoy that. Green Bean, what are your thoughts on people, liking Wilson more? Like, why isn't Fields liked as much as Wilson?
I really think it's that championship game, man. I mean, you remember the talk after the Clemson game? It was as if Fields was the greatest quarterback to ever come out. He leapfrogged Trevor Lawrence for that 48-hour period, right? Then he played against Bama, and everybody's like, Fields sucks. He's not even a first-round quarterback. And that's just it's the wacky overreaction going both ways. But you know what I think would be fun? If we made a prediction at the end of the show or something like that, if we predicted what we really think and put it like on paper, what we think the Watson trade would be, like us three. Like, what do we think
we could do
the
it the
final
same
trade would be? You
know what we could do? I can create a graphic the same way we did it for the mock draft, or not mock draft, for the NFL draft that we did last year. We could get together. We could kind of figure out. You guys text me on the side separately what you think the value is going to be for that trade, and then I'll throw it above the our windows above us, and then that'll just be our predictions.
Yeah,
and we'll see who's closer when it's all said and done.
Put our names on that shit.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it. Parker Dugan, Ryan, those Kalos are expensive as hell, my man. Yeah, well, that's why I when I was talking to him, so they're like $4 a can. They're not cheap, but so they came to the golf course that I work at. I run a golf course, and they had a tasting, and I was like, oh, CBD infused seltzer, yeah, I'll try one for free. Why not? Then I tried 2 for free, and then I was like, yeah, I'll bring this into the pro shop. Why not? And then I got to looking at them. I was like, oh, man, they're like 15 minutes away from me. They're literally canned right in Lincoln Park, New Jersey. So I emailed the sales rep that had come out to me. I was like, hey, I love your drink. It is absolutely awesome. I don't want any money, but I will absolutely plug it for you guys if you send me a few cases. And so they've been sending me cases of this stuff, and it is delicious. It is really, really good. Where was I going with this? I had something I was going to say.
Something about drug addiction. I forget what it was.
Probably something like that. Triple B29 Rob says, if we roll in with Wilson this year, who do we want as a backup quarterback? Maybe someone like Dalton. I think whoever is our starting quarterback, I would like to see. I mean, obviously we want James Morgan to get some reps, but I would like to bring in CJ Beathard or Beathard or however you say his name from the 49ers. I think he will help transition whoever the quarterback is, whether it be Watson or Wilson or Fields, and allow them some time to develop, and sort of just like, it's almost like you have your buddy that understands the math equation sitting next to you, and you're like, yo, dude, how do I do this? You carry the 1, and then you subtract it, and then you use a calculator, and then then it all makes sense. Matt, who would your preference for backup quarterback be if you were the Jets?
I don't think Dalton's a bad choice. He might be a little bit on the pricier side. I'm okay with running back Joe Flacco. I'd have to pull up the list of free agent quarterbacks. I'm going to be honest here. That's not the highest thing on my priority list right now, the backup quarterbacks. So, I remember who it was. AJ McCarron. I think that'd be a good value backup.
I like McCarron. The guys over at Hashtag Sports, Paul specifically over at Hashtag Sports, loves AJ McCarron, and he was all about him prior to him becoming a Buffalo Bill. And when he got them, he's like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And then they take Josh Allen anyway. Green Bean, who would your perfect backup quarterback be for this year for the Jets?
Geno Smith.
No, get the hell out of here.
No, I know. I think. You know what I'd like to see? I mean, look, if we get Deshaun Watson, let me say it this way. If we get Deshaun Watson, I'd like to see James Morgan and David Fales be the backups. That's what I'd like to see. If we get a rookie, young guy, I'd like to see a veteran in here. And let's look at the list. What about like Jacoby Brissett? CJ McCarron's out there. Dalton, Colt McCoy is another one. Colt McCoy is, I actually like Colt McCoy. So he's a phenomenon to me.
Is he with the Giants right now?
Colt McCoy is with the Giants, yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't have to move.
He's a weird anomaly to me. He's a very talented quarterback, but I think it's his health. But you got Matt Barkley, RG3 would be interesting. Depends. Like if you get Justin Fields bringing in RG3, kind of a thing. I'd like to see something like that. It depends on who the starter is. If it's an established starter, dude, go with the developmental guys. If you're going with a young kid, you need somebody in here who's a vet, in my opinion.
That makes perfect sense. You want your offense to be exactly the same when any player goes out. So if you have a fast guard that can really, pull really well, you're going to want his backup to be someone in that same vein so your offense doesn't change dramatically. The same thing goes with the quarterback. Right. You don't want to change your whole playbook because one guy goes down. You don't want to have, say, Michael Vick and then have, not Tom Brady, but statue quarterback behind the line of scrimmage.
Which is the way they used to do it. Yeah, they used to do it that way. They used to get guys that were like a pocket passer and then like an exciting running guy as his backup. And it was like weird, like trying to spread it out. And it made no sense. And like we had a guy, Jeff Blake, who was behind, anyway, it was like maybe like not Ken O'Brien, but somebody like Boomer Esiason or something. And we couldn't use him when he went down. We couldn't figure out how to use him because they had to change too much. Jeff Blake goes over to Cincinnati and has a great career, but we couldn't figure it out because too many things had to change. So I like what you're just saying. I think that's the smartest thing to do.
Mm-hmm. I see you guys talking about Jet Central in the chat over there. Man, we would love to have Jet Central on the panel. It would be nice to have him on, but he doesn't respond to anything. So I just kind of gave up on that. I like Jet Central. He doesn't want to play with me. Mamoon H says, do you think Darnold gets traded before the Super Bowl? No, I don't think so. Because I don't think Watson gets traded before the Super Bowl, and I think we're going to wait till after we know we're getting Watson. Because if you wind up trading Sam Darnold, you're probably not getting any offers for the number 2 overall pick. I would rather hold on to Sam a little bit longer, kind of get your diagnosis down. Let's see the pro days. Let's see everything that's going on. Let's see where they measure. Let's see where their health checks out. But yeah, 1 week. What is it? What's today? Tuesday? So 5 days? No way. No way. Green Bean, you think he's getting traded before the Super Bowl?
No. Tonight.
Yeah, right. Let's see what else is going on in the chat over here. We got, we're at the end of the stream. Jesus, that's what happens when you're talking with these guys and just having a lot of fun. All right, guys, it has been a lot of fun overall, hanging out with you guys. Let me get my music queued up, and all right. There it is. There's the music, boys. All right, let's take it around the panel. Let's do a last thoughts here. Matt, any last thoughts for the panel?
Yeah, I didn't get to talk about it, but it's something that was bugging me. The take that draft scouts aren't going to like Zach Wilson because he comes from a family that has a little bit of money.
That a 3-car garage.
Yeah, 3 cars. Just what are we doing here, guys? Can we stop looking so deep into these things? It's so stupid. So yeah, I just needed to vent that out for like half a second. So that's what I'll say there.
How much you want to bet Archie Manning had a 3-car garage? I don't think it means anything for quarterback development. Green Bean, any last words for the panel?
Yeah, that was really good, man. I think I'll tell you guys, my YouTube channel, Green Bean Jets fan, I am literally 35 hours away from my next threshold, which is 4,000 watch hours, and then I could do certain things. If you haven't gone over there and subscribed and watched a couple things, please do. It helps me out. A new podcast is up, episode 7. We talk about the largest trades in NFL history, and I'd love to have you over there. See ya. Thank you.
I love it, guys. Thank you so much for flying with me or us tonight. Subscribe to both these guys if you haven't already. Guys, we will not be back here next Tuesday. We are going to take a week off. I'm taking a week off for my Monday and Tuesday show. If you can't see behind me, you probably can't because I blocked off some of it. But I have boxes all behind me. I'm moving. I'm going to be getting a new backdrop here, so it'll be fun. You guys will have a new setup here shortly. But guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us for these 2 hours. It is a therapy session week in and week out. This is Jets Talk, signing off. Jets.